Hello, hello, and good evening, Love Wrestling fans, supporters, community. We are here with a special Love Wrestling Reacts. I wish it was under better circumstances, but with the big news today of the releases in the WWE, we decided that we wanted to get a group of us together and talk about them and talk about how much of a bummer it is and just talk about, anywhere, before I pass on to the gang, I feel like whenever these things happen, it's like, oh, this really stinks. And then it's automatically like, all right, dream matches. Where do we want them to go? And then we go that route. But I think there's a greater discussion here as well that we'll dive into as we get into that. But before we get into that, let me introduce all these fine gentlemen with me this evening. I will start with my name, brother, the Mighty One, Mighty Joe. What's going on, my friend?
Not much, man. Like I said, it would be nicer to be here under better circumstances. But having said that, I mean, it's always cool when we get together here at Love Wrestling to talk about wrestling. And we'll try to put a positive spin on this as much as humanly possible, given what's been going on here.
Yes. And then we will go to John from Wrestling Plug Inc. How are you this evening, my friend?
Doing good. I think the Mighty One summed it up pretty good. Wish we were here in better circumstances, but for better or worse, pun intended, we do love wrestling. So we're going to get through this. It's a tough day for wrestling fans everywhere, I have to imagine.
Yep. And we want to say hello to our buddy Ed. Ed, always here, always ready,
Hello,
always adding the comments. Thank you for joining us this evening. And let me welcome Carl. I know this is the first time we have officially worked or done something together, so I'm excited to officially meet you. And let's introduce yourself, say hello, and I'll actually start with you. So after your introduction, let's start with you about just a general feeling about the releases and maybe the one that sticks out to you the most.
Awesome. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Yes, I am not new to Love Wrestling. I've been around since the beginning. My name is Carl Carafel. This is the first opportunity that I've really had to be able to come on a Reacts. I love all of the Reacts that are happening. If you guys have not seen any, go to lovewrestling.ca. They're all available there. The YouTube, it's all available there for you. Make sure you're seeing everything. This is a little bit of a bummer one that we're doing, but we're all about the love, baby. All about that love. And even some of these released superstars are all about the love as well. It's a sad day, but it's not really a sad day either. Considering some of these names that have been released, there are bigger and better opportunities for these people to go and shine somewhere. So I'm thankful for that, as has been expressed by at least two of the released people so far. Probably the biggest one that was a shock to me was Aleister Black. Just considering what they've been doing with him over these last 3-4 weeks, all these amazing vignettes that they've been doing, this whole Daddy of Darkness or whatever type of thing that they were doing with him, it was actually going really well, and I was loving seeing those little promos for him. To ultimately have a release come in, it definitely does suck, but
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and with you saying that, right? Like, he just came back to television, and that makes me, and we all know that Vince can be spontaneous, and we have these stories of him, but like, why would you invest the time and the resources and all these things to bring a character? Like, these vignettes were good vignettes. They were very enjoyable. Yeah. And that's money, that's resource, that's time on your show that you're investing to this guy. And then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, never mind. And it's just bizarre to me. Mighty Joe, I'll let you kind of take it from there. Like, that one, and I'm sure we're going to dive into all of these, but like, that one was the one that I was like, why would you bother bringing him back if you knew, unless it was just a last minute thing, like throw him in there? Why would you do that?
I mean, for those who have been listening to me over here on Love Wrestling, and I've voiced this on Turnbuckle Talk as well, over there with Carl and myself, that these promos with him, with this Father of Darkness or like whatever they were going with here, the promos and the vignettes in themselves were very good, but I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, where's the wrestling context here? Like, who is he targeting? What's the end game? What's the end result here? And to get maybe slightly conspiratorial here, it's like, well, maybe it was a little bit telling, given we were doing these cool segments with him, but we didn't really have a plan in place, or we already knew what we were going to be doing. I mean, it was cool to see him come back on SmackDown. When I saw that, I was like, okay, cool. We're going to be doing something with Aleister Black, and then this is just like getting the concrete pulled out from underneath you. It's just like, damn, like him and Braun were the two big ones. So it was like, wow, real, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like, and I think all six of these people have value, and it's sad when anybody loses their jobs, but I feel like, especially like when I saw the name Braun at the top, I was like, wow. Yeah. I was like, okay, like that guy beat Goldberg for the title at WrestleMania last year. Like that guy was champion for a while last year, heavyweight champion.
Yep. And
I think about, a couple years ago with him and Roman and how hot he was, and just when he was this monster, he was so over, and that guy, and to just see the way that the trajectory went downward to this point where now he's still a huge name and he's gone. John, I'll let you take that one, and maybe Braun Strowman. And then if you want to touch on the Aleister Black thing as well, or mention another one that is, near the top of your list of shocking ones here.
Well, for the Aleister Black, I'll just hit it real quick. I think you guys touched on it pretty well. Like, what's the point of bringing the guy back and getting us all excited? Because he was, at one point, the hottest thing going. I mean, he was undefeated NXT champion. He came in with, big fanfare. They had him undefeated for like a year almost. And then just something clicked in Vince's head and said, I don't like this guy. But I think you guys touched on Aleister really well. Like, I mean, that guy's going to walk into wherever he wants and probably, kill it. I don't have any doubt. Braun, for me, that's another one that's like, he was insanely over. That feud with Roman Reigns was absolutely money. And they got too cute with him and started, tweaking this and tweaking that. Just, he's a big guy who can flip over cars legitimately. Let him do that. It just blows my mind. That's another one. That guy, like this last round of cuts before this one I thought was a heartbreaker with a lot of the names. This one really like hit me in the gut. And for me, the one that stuck out honestly the most was Ruby Riott. Mm-hmm. And I know that she's not, at the top of anybody's list in terms of female talent, but she was and I don't want to say it in a negative sense. She was a very good hand. She could put on a great match with anybody at any time. And she's from my neck of the woods. she shops at my grocery store here in town, and she's always been incredibly nice whenever I've got the opportunity to interact with her. And it's just, from where I'm at in terms of wrestlers, you don't see a lot of like, on the WWE stage, and you're just like, man, so I had a personal connection with her in that sense, and it's just that really bummed me out, because I thought for sure her and Liv were destined for tag titles, and they were the only tag team on the roster at one point.
Yeah,
and it's just a rough day.
That's what I was gonna say. And we were chatting, earlier before we decided to do this special tonight, and I said, like, when it comes to Ruby Riott, the Riott Squad was like the only real women's tag team, maybe in the whole company, I think. And they have two different sets of women's tag titles that are in play. And you just released someone who was really well liked on social media today. I would say she's received, if not the highest praise, like the most from most wrestlers. Like, they are truly heartbroken that she's no longer going to be there. And like you said, she was great in the ring. Even when she was given 2 minutes, she made it count. And those matches were as entertaining as a 2-minute match could be.
I just watched Charlotte Flair and Ruby Riott from Fastlane, and like
great.
She looked like $1 million even in a loss, because she has it, and she has a different, unique look, and that's one of those things that, like, she doesn't look like everyone on your roster, and you're letting that walk, and it's just dumbfounding. Like the Riot Squad was like the last really good female faction too, and they've completely botched that.
Yeah, and it's just, and I'll pass it back down to Carl. And you can touch on Ruby Riott and kind of go actually wherever you want to go with this conversation. I want it to be an open conversation. But yeah, I mean, all of them stick out. Like again, Ruby Riott and Lana too. Lana's worked her butt off to become a decent to good performer.
You're gonna get all fired up because
it's just heartbreaking. But Carl, I'll let you kind of take it. And
I was gonna say on the Lana thing real quick, people trash Lana a lot online. She did everything the WWE asked her to do and did it well and got herself over. The only thing she screwed up was posting her relationship back in the day when they were feuding. But other than that, that woman works her ass off for that company, and they were just like, "See ya,
see you later."
And that's exactly it. That's what I was going to touch on with Lana, is that no matter what they asked of her, she did it. How many times did she get put through the announce table, a table, through anything? How many times did she necessarily job to any other female performer on there just to help make them look better? Maybe, I don't know, but she worked so hard to get to where she was and what she had to now it just to be gone. It totally sucks.
And she did a cheating scandal storyline, which I'm sure she wasn't over the moon about.
Horrid.
You know what I mean? Like
they put her through hell, and she took all of it and made the best out of all of it because she knew at the end of the day she was getting a good paycheck from the WWE for doing what they've asked her to do. And now it's gone. And why? We don't know.
Yeah,
I would love to know why.
Yeah. And Aleister Black did hop on Thea Trinidad's stream earlier today, and he did say that the reason he was at least given was budget cuts. So take that for what it is. But I feel like other
made $1 billion last year.
Like,
and I know that a lot of wrestling fans are sports fans too, and they give you that, well, this happens in professional sports all the time, right? I'm going to say this. Yes, in professional sports, people get released, but in baseball, your job is to hit a baseball. And if you're not hitting a baseball, they have no use for you. But in wrestling, it's a little different because it's story-based. How many times has the New York Yankees left an all-star, a blue chip prospect just on the bench and never played him, right? That's what we're talking about here. You're leaving guys like Braun Strowman and Aleister Black on the sidelines when everybody knows that they are top of the card type talent. That doesn't happen in sports. So when you cut these guys and ladies, it hurts. It's hard. It's like we fall in love with these people in NXT, and then you just tell us when they finally make the show, like, we just don't have anything for you. It's not like they couldn't perform.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Even given those two names there, Aleister Black and Braun Strowman, you're saying, so budget cuts, okay, yeah. But if it were to be said that, we had nothing for you, what do you mean you have two guys right there? Put them into something together to either tag team them or make a feud with the two of them. You're still giving people a good product of what they want to see. They want to see these people. Give them these people.
Also, in your one show, you've got 3 hours of television to work with, and we can't find things for these people to do. Get the hell out of here.
I'm doing the math in my head. So they have 3 hours on Raw, 2 hours on NXT, 2 hours on SmackDown.
They still do main event. They still do main event.
They still
do 205 live.
Yeah. I mean,
there are places for these people to perform.
Yeah.
Something
unbelievable.
And you don't. And the craziest part about it is you don't have to let these people perform in the expense of taking other people off of TV, because there's so much time that they waste on a weekly basis with recaps and odds and end things that it's just like you're fluffing 3 hours. Give me Braun Strowman versus Aleister Black. Why not?
We got to make sure we get Matt Riddle riding up his scooter and going, bro. But we can't give Aleister Black something to get the out of here.
Yeah.
Mighty Joe fired up.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, I'm trying to be like super nice because
no, you don't have to be. You can. It's a frustrating thing. It's a very frustrating thing, and I feel like
nobody likes to see anybody lose their job, and especially
No.
this way for budget cuts on a company that has $1 billion profit.
yeah, I feel like there are times where, and I saw this. I feel like there are times where WWE kind of makes it hard to support them, like to be a fan of them. When they do things, because you don't need to let these people go. You don't, and it's just bizarre that it's happened so much, so like recently. It's just on days like today. I'm like, I get it. It's a business. Like, I get it, but
what's bizarre
it just seems unnecessary at times.
That's what's at the heart of it too.
If we go back to like the Andrade release, he asked for that months in advance. There's rumors that Aleister Black asked for his, and they were like, nope, sorry, you're stuck here. So these people want to work, but when they want to leave, the $1 billion company's like, nope, sorry, you can't go anywhere. And then when they feel like it, they're just like, they throw them away like trash. And that's the disheartening part. Like, if you're not gonna use them, let them go. If you're not gonna use them and you don't think you can make money with them, why are you afraid to let them go make money and potentially do something with somebody else that could make a little bit of money? Because we all know the WWE is the king of the mountain in terms of making money. Why are you afraid of like Impact or New Japan or somebody else getting a little bit of dollar off of what you've perceived to not be worthy enough? It just doesn't sit. It doesn't sit right.
So my question is, okay, so they obviously did not see, and this is how I'm seeing it. They did not see value in Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Santana Garrett, Ruby Riott, Murphy. They didn't see value in these people.
Oh yeah, we haven't.
And
even
they
talked
let them
about
go.
Murphy. Yeah.
So now, are they seeing value in these, like, how many, 50, 100 people that they have down in NXT? Are they seeing value in these people? And are we working towards bringing them up somehow? But we all know that bringing them into NXT, you're going to work them for about a year to 3 years before they're on the main television.
Yep.
So, like, that's a real kick in the teeth. Like, you really don't value these people, but you're valuing all these other people that you could have quietly let go. You could quietly let go of 25 people that you have down in NXT that aren't performing well enough up to your standards, and nobody would have even known about it, except maybe their close personal friends. But instead, we're now getting rid of these talents that mean something to your fans.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's a little bit of an uproar that's happening, especially within all of us in the professional wrestling community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do any disservice.
And Santana Garrett's one of those two. Like, she didn't even get a shot, really.
Exactly.
Like, let's be honest.
Exactly.
They threw in a couple Royal Rumbles. I think they called her up too, so she was a main roster. But I don't remember ever seeing her on a Raw or SmackDown. So you're doing that too. You're stringing these people along during the primes of their careers. Again, I talk about the sports analogy. I got my Cubs hat. Could you imagine the Cubs just sitting Anthony Rizzo for the prime of his professional baseball career just because they're like, we don't want you to go to the White Sox? It's It's a tough day. It's a tough day to smile, Ryan, both professionally and on the internet wrestling community. But like you don't see that in any other sport. If you don't have value, you let them walk. You just, all right, we're done here. And
we got nothing for you. Go find work elsewhere. Like that's
they always
common thing to do.
They always wait for like the worst times to do it. Like the first round was so we don't see him come at Double or Nothing, and I'm not sure what the 90 days is on this one. If it's,
I believe it's right after All Out.
Right, exactly. It's like they do this strategically so that another company potentially couldn't make money, which I just don't get. Like,
since they don't have contracts, does the 90-day clause not apply?
They are independent contractors.
you guys
Because
are
I thought
funny.
the
You know.
90-day only applied if they were with their contract, they got their contract early or something like that. I thought
If
that's
they
when-
released them early, they have to abide by the 90. If their
Okay.
contract ran
Okay.
out, if it had just expired and they didn't
that's
renew,
different.
they're free to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The only person that didn't get one was Andrade. Like he was able to go. He didn't have a non-compete, which I'm surprised I haven't seen.
Moxley too. He was
Mox-
was very
It's
much.
because
Well, I think Moxley let his run out.
Yeah.
Moxley,
He let-
Daniel Bryan, they let theirs run out.
Yeah.
So
and
I
you
think
can
that's why
and that's the other thing. You can tell when
the revival,
when they want to
FTR,
keep
sorry.
somebody. Like when they wanted to keep Mox and Daniel Bryan and all, they gave them big pushes. And I think
Oh, yeah.
the Shield had about 4 different send-off shows because they wanted to keep Mox and he just wasn't feeling it.
Nope.
But you know, that's just what they do. If they want you, they're gonna pull out the red carpet. If they don't, they're just gonna wait
Yeah.
until it's opportunist for them. And then they're gonna have a quarterly call that said, "Hey, we had record $2 billion profits last quarter," and you're gonna be like, "What budget cut was Aleister Black?" You're telling
No.
me that guy didn't have a place. He's an former NXT champion that we hold in such high regard.
Yeah.
It's not budget cuts. There's something bigger at play here.
and I think that's eventually where we were going to go here. But there are, rumors and speculation that the things that have happened recently might be a sign that Vince is preparing to possibly sell WWE.
Yeah.
I haven't dived as deep into it as probably some of you on this panel, so I will let you guys lead and kind of lead that conversation and chime in. But that has been a topic of discussion on social media today, is that the way things have gone with the last batch and this one, it just seems like this is not just a normal every year budget cuts. It just seems like it's something different because we're seeing legitimate names leaving, and it's just, yeah. So I'll let Mighty Joe, I'll let you lead on this one, kind of dive into this conversation about a potential selling of WWE.
I'll just start off kind of plain simple. What I think it is I think that we're consolidating the business to sell it. And I even have a couple picks for the destination. I think the NBC one is possibility, but I think like the two bigger conglomerates that I'm really thinking of, A is Disney and B is Amazon. Either of those two. With the Amazon angle, right? You could tie the WWE network into the Prime membership, and then merchandise, you'd almost have that kind of built in, right? So that's a partnership that I think makes sense. WWE with trying to go maybe a little bit more family friendly, Disney family friendly, that makes sense too, right? So I think either of those could be a definite possibility, but also I think the NBC angle is also a very strong possibility as well. I think any of those three is, I think, an inevitability, but I may be proven wrong because, I mean, we'd have predicted this and talked about this before, but I mean, this is like the second round of firings, and I'm sure that there's some production, some backstage people involved in this too that we haven't necessarily heard about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's business-wise, that has all the signs of you're consolidating to sell.
Yeah. We have Ed chiming in. He says, I see everyone saying it, and with Vince seemingly attending less shows, but it would have to be a massive money deal to buy WWE from Vince. I think they can get a massive money deal. They just...
What's the number? What do you think's the number?
Well, what did SmackDown? SmackDown was what? Was it $2 billion or $1 billion for just SmackDown?
For the whole
Fox
company?
paid.
For the whole company, I'd say $10 billion.
10
Yeah, I
billion,
mean, it would have to be... Yeah.
Damn. That's
it'd have
5
to be
times
around
more
there.
than Clippers.
Yeah. I mean, but I think that's how you got to treat it. Like if you're buying a sports franchise, like that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole network. You get everything that comes with it, the history, the network, and they own WCW's, ECW. You get a lot of the history of professional wrestling, which is a niche product, but it's a popular product, and that is worth a lot on its own.
Yep.
And then just adding in, like Joe said, like if you lumped in WWE Network to Amazon Prime or Disney Plus or whatever, and then there's still live weekly shows that generate millions of viewers and things like that. Like I think they would get a massive money deal for Vince to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. If anyone else.
I mean, the Cowboys are like worth $3 billion, right? The Knicks are worth like $5 billion. So that'd be double. That's probably a good going rate. Like, again, I keep coming back to the sports analogy just because that's where this is sticking in my head. And like, that's what you do, right? You win it. If you weren't to sell, you make it as you get it off as many bad contract as you can. You make it as appealing to a potential buyer as possible. So you don't, a big problem when WWE bought the WCW was all of those contracts, right? Like that's why they didn't get the, Nashes and the Hogans and everybody right away, because they had those ironclad contracts from the WCW. So those dudes were like, nah, we're just going to sit at home. Yeah. And, they basically the WWE paid them nothing. So if you can get no buyer is going to want to be locked into, Braun Strowman's 7-figure deal when he could have 2 Matt Riddles for the price of 1 type deal, because Riddle makes far less, even though it is what it is and how you view the performer. But somebody mentioned to me today that the road going back on the road, but I would think you'd want these people on the road.
Yeah, I figure you would want more talent if you're going on the road. Yeah,
and trying to curb the cost of going back on the road. Now I don't know what they were doing when they were on the road before COVID to now, but I can't imagine they don't have it in their budget to make it all work.
Hey, if that means too that if Raw can get trimmed down to 2 hours,
that'd be great. That'd be a good way to cut the budget.
Thumbs up for Mighty Joe. I mean, that would be all for that.
Raw could be 3 hours if they would just write it better. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I prefer weekly television. I prefer 2 hours.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the perfect window. But if the 3-hour show were good every week, I don't think a lot of us would be complaining about watching a 3-hour show. I think the issue is the 3-hour show is unwatchable. It's been so bad. Even though RK Bro, I like.
Yeah,
but besides that, I don't care about anything else.
It's the same show every week for the last.
Brutal.
Feels like 6 months.
2 years,
and
longer. It feels for like a while.
But I would say we're talking about 5 or 6 people that would just putting them in matches that weren't even super heavy storyline based would just change up the dynamic, and you'd be like, oh shoot, there's Ruby Riott. Oh, there's Braun Strowman. I haven't seen him in a while. It freshens things up, and they're just like, we're gonna stick to this. And again, it comes back to it. To me, it screams they're going to sell, because name a franchise at the top of their game that's sold in any, capacity. Like, you strip it down, it's at its lowest form, and then you sell it and hope to get the most money out. I just don't know. There's no other reason that you do this outside of you just want to liquidate assets to make a big money. And I know Vince is definitely at the end of his career, and maybe he just doesn't love the grind anymore. And maybe he's talked to some potential buyers and said, these are the people I want you to keep in place if you buy it. I'm sure there's some contingencies there.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
But even that, I won't get into super great detail on my end, but I know that a company that I work for got bought out by a $1 billion corporation, and they promised they weren't going to change anything. And then all of a sudden things have changed in the next couple years, because now they're in full control. So I have to imagine there's probably there's a grace period, right? That if Amazon bought it, they say, okay, for the first year or so, we'll keep status quo, see how things go, and then we'll start implementing our things. And hopefully for us fans, it's a good thing, but days like this, unfortunately, have to happen, and it's just, like I said, it's just sad.
Go ahead, Carl.
You want to talk about the business and it being up for sale? Okay, so a friend of mine turned me on to this from Forbes magazine. Okay, 10 signs your company is up for sale. I'll just read through the top 10 headlines. I'm not going to read any of the paragraphs to you, but Hyperbole. Okay, so you're a big PR blitz going on. Once in a lifetime opportunity type of thing, right? Cost controls. That's what we're going through right now. Taking bigger salaries, dropping them out. Sales pushed. So your sales team is your biggest department now, and they're pushing sales. New faces. Yeah, we got one Mr. Khan. Not Tony Khan, but we have a new face that's in there that's being pushed to everybody and to the foreground right now. Let's take a look at key defections. Senior leaders, stuff like that, they're being, they're stepping down or they're being let go as well. So we're, doing a whole bunch of different things. Murmurs, the talks, the rumors about it. We've been doing that for a year now, people, right? Questions. Suddenly, think of Office Space. If you ever watched Office Space, suddenly the higher ups care more about the process than they do the results. Yep. Right? Number 8, poor performance. Well, unfortunately, COVID came in, okay, but pre-COVID, Raw was going down the tubes. Poor performance going on right there. Holding pattern. All right, yeah. So that's exactly what they're doing on the show every week. It's like we're taking an episode of The Big Bang Theory and doing the same episode, but we're switching out Sheldon for Leonard, for Howard, for Raj, doing the same episode just with a different main character every time. And worst instincts. So, it's wearing on people. It's just the whole process of everything and what they're seeing and what's going on. It's all just wearing on people. Nothing seems to get done. Nobody seems to be taking any responsibilities for it. Everything's getting pushed the blame onto one specific person, Vince McMahon. Every single time, nobody's stepping up and taking any type of responsibilities. So, straight from Forbes magazine, who is probably one of the biggest, most legit business magazines in the entire world, has just given us exactly what the WWE is doing, 10 for 10.
Yeah. And, man, it's crazy. Like, I don't even know if I can imagine what a Vince McMahon-less WWE is.
I would say that the holding pattern one was really good too.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Because you're right. That's spot. Why risk rocking the boat and potentially turning off a set people? If you're going to be getting rid of it, Yeah, exactly. Why shock the world with some big, grand, sweeping change? That one really hit me.
Yeah, as I remember, and again, we talked about the names earlier. We didn't really even mention like Buddy Murphy, and but I remember last year throughout most, and I know that not everyone was there for the first big chunk of COVID and the pandemic, so they had a limited roster. I understand this. But how many times did we watch Seth Rollins fight Rey Mysterio or Buddy Murphy or Dom? How many times was that went on for like 6 months? And it wasn't just a 6 month, like, oh, we hate each other for 6 months. It was like, oh, some form of us are wrestling each other every week for 6 months. 6 months.
Yeah.
And think of that. Like, man, what are we doing?
The COVID era, they just got rid of all those people.
Yeah.
Murphy held it down. Strowman, to an extent, held it down. Ruby Riott was having 20-minute matches on Raw to fill time.
Mm-hmm.
I think
the whole on Raw.
Yeah, Andrade,
Vega, and Garza were running Raw for like the first probably month to 6 weeks of the show. They were the prominent group on Raw.
Thanks for saving our asses. Bye.
Gone.
Bye-bye.
2 of them gone. It's just, man, it's crazy when you think about it. And it's just like,
when you look at the bigger scope of things and a lot of the stuff like Carl was mentioning through Forbes, it starts to kind of come into focus of what's really going on here. And it's honestly at the point where I'm going to flip-flop it. I will actually be surprised if WWE doesn't get sold as opposed to the other way around now. It's and John, you nailed it too. It's like, what does a Vince McMahon-ish or Vince McMahon less version of WWE look like? And it's like, dude, I don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I give credit where it's due. That was Big Joe. That wasn't me.
But like I think it would even be hard for any of us to like even come up with how that looks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, by the time I started watching wrestling, I didn't know Vince was the owner until he was the owner on my screen.
Yeah.
Right. I did not know. He was just the commentator. Yeah, he was the commentator, and that's who he was. When he did interviews and things like that, I didn't know that until they announced on screen that this is who he was before he became the Mr. McMahon character.
And
But-
you hit it on there too, Joe. Like I want to make mention as like negatively as we all kind of tend to talk about Vince. I think the majority of us would agree. Like one of the best wrestling characters of all time.
Easily,
the Mr.
easily.
McMahon character.
Oh yeah,
walking down and doing the poop scoot, and the when he was like calling, trying to give away money. Like that stuff was comedy gold.
yeah.
Of him not being able to dial the phone right, or not being able to tell something was an answering message, or that stuff was classic. Like the Vince McMahon character was awesome.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, for me, it's like however you think about him as a person, which I don't think very fondly of him as a person.
Yeah,
that doesn't negate the fact that none of us would be talking to each other right now if it was not for him.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah.
End of story.
There probably wouldn't be wrestling on television.
Yeah, no, wrestling probably might not even exist.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Vince. And the guy was a genius. He knew what he wanted to do. He wanted, and I think that's where John was going, so I'll let him go. Like
just genius, right?
Yeah.
But,
like he knew he wanted to just take over the world, take over the wrestling world, and he did. He did.
But the only thing he did was the only thing he's done now is he's held on for too long in terms
exactly.
of
and he's too stubborn, and he doesn't allow other points of view.
I wish I could remember what they were talking about. I was listening to something on our, friends over at Fightful the other day, and it was the Shayna Baszler storyline, I believe. And Sean Ross Sapp said something about, it's a 75-year-old man writing for a 30-year-old woman. He needs to, if this is going to be successful, whether he sells or not, he really needs to get an influx of people. Like we all regard NXT as one of the best programs on TV, right? Some of the best wrestling we've ever seen. That's in-house. That's in the company that Vince runs, but he's too afraid to do that on Mondays and Fridays. He's a genius in a business sense. And when he sells this thing for $10 billion, you can't knock the man's hustle, right? But owning the product that we love so much to just run it the way he's been running it as of late is just mind-blowing to me. Yeah. It's mad scientist almost to a point. It's like he's losing it.
It just got me thinking.
Yeah, I was going to say Joe's pondering something.
I'm going to stop so he can get in on this.
You mentioned Shayna Baszler, and I'm thinking who she's currently working with, and I just had that kind of light bulb moment. I'm like, how the F was Nia Jax not part of these releases? Like you literally have somebody who's probably injured more people on your roster than anybody else. She's still there, and we let go of Aleister Black and Ruby Riott.
I don't like to go down that road, but let's.
I'll go down that road for you.
I know you will. I know you will. But what I was going to say is Shayna Baszler will get released far before Nia Jax ever does, and that is
ridiculous.
That's unfortunate. I will die
ridiculous.
on the Shayna Baszler hill.
Putting it nicely, yeah.
You should die on that hill because Shayna Baszler is excellent.
I will.
And she got pinned by frickin' Reginald on Monday night.
We're going to talk about that tomorrow night.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, man. It's just, and I think we said it right at the beginning. Like, we wish it was under better circumstances that we were all getting together because it's actually been a really good talk and it's been a good conversation. It's just a bummer. And it's just a lot of it is puzzling, I guess. We try to come up with, oh, well, it has to be because of this or that, or what reason is it? It just, for me, at the end of the day, it just doesn't make sense. And that's kind of the thing that sticks to me is that it just does not make sense and it's bothersome.
You build a roster around this group that you just released, right?
Yeah. And
let's just say for just shits and giggles, Impact had this 6 people at the top of their card, or even whoever you name the promotion. I don't care. NWA. If the NWA had this 6 people, imagine what we'd be saying about NWA. Shout out to Zach and Power Out, but I know it's been rough. But that's all I'm saying. These are talents that you're not just like, they weren't performing and they're not good in the ring. We can't do anything with them. They drew money for your company, right? And you're just like, budget cuts, and I can't get over it. I'm like, I'm trying not to say a lot of curse words on air tonight.
That's okay. It's okay. And let's kind of piggyback on where you started there before we wrap it up and get out of here. But let's talk about where we think these people might go. We know they all have the 90-day compete clause, so we won't see them for a few months or so. But when you start thinking about them, because these are big names, a lot of these are big names. I'll start with you, Carl. Like, you can pick who you want, but like, where do you see some of these people going? Where do you want them to go? And if you pick a match or two, like, what sticks out to you? I know it's early because this just happened, but
Yeah.
what's sticking out to you?
I mean, obvious first thing that everybody has been saying, that has been messaging me, is AEW, AEW, AEW. I'm like, shut up. AEW has already taken so many wrestlers from the WWE. I honestly do not want to see a single one of them, maybe Murphy, go to AEW. He might be the only one. That's it. I want to see Aleister Black and Braun Strowman just go and do what most people would call the indies right now, MLW. Think of the matchup that they could have, even three-way matchup with Aleister Black, Braun Strowman, and Jacob Fatu. How amazing would that be? Right? Or you take either one of those two guys and bring them over to New Japan and let them, do something to feud with Bullet Club, and Bad Luck Fale is a good big guy himself to take on either one of those two guys. Lana, Santana, Garrett, Impact. Impact would be perfect for both of them. Impact has a great women's division right now. They have some really good names that are over there that are maybe not mainstream, well known to people, but they're good workers. So let them go there. Santana Garrett is a fantastic worker and has honed her craft for years. Lana still may be a little bit rusty, but she has been working her ass off to make herself as good as she has become. I mean, who else was there?
Ruby Riott.
Yeah.
Ruby Riott. You know what? Honestly, I think we're going to see Ruby Riott go ghost for a while. From everyone that's inside of that list, I think Ruby Riott is going to be hit the hardest with this. Mentally, I think she's going to be hit the hardest with this, just because of some stuff that I've seen and stuff that I know about Ruby Riott. She's a very emotional person. She's a very heartfelt person. And this is really going to strike her hard. And I think we're going to see her kind of just step back and step away for a little bit so that she can get herself into a good mental state again to be able to then re-emerge, let's say NWA or OVW. Yeah.
I hope she does the indie circuit around here personally, so I can get to see her, because she's from my area. For Ruby, that the Impact connection is there with Jake, something being there. I hope that they give her a run when she's ready to go. I mean, I think Lana to AEW would be kind of a slam, only because and I know everybody, but I think there's some meat there that they could play off of for sure, and Lana could get some heat. I keep picturing Murphy in Strictly Business in the NWA for some reason. I just keep seeing it. His style in ring doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But he just has the look that they, are missing. I don't watch
a ton of NWA, but I've seen pictures of those guys, and that's not bad. That's not bad.
Well,
and like Strowman and Murphy, like, they can probably cash any check they want anywhere they want. I think most people will be like, it's up to them at that point what they choose to do. I just hope, and I think they'll all get work. I don't think that this is a group that we're going to be struggling to get work. I hope that they all land on their feet and are successful wherever they end up.
Yeah, I guess. Joe, I'll let you go. I don't like to, like Carl said, like, I don't automatically like to go, well, AEW. But I mean, I think if you want to continue to build your women's division, I don't think it would be a bad thing to give Ruby Riott a call.
Yeah.
And I know there's been a lot more focus, and now they have a legit superstar as their women's champion. So if you want to build some strong contenders and have people that can have great matches that people know who Ruby Riott is, I think that wouldn't be a bad thing. But other than that, I would like to see Aleister Black in New Japan. I think that could be cool. That's kind of sticks out to me. And then Joe, I'll let you kind of take it and where you want to see or where you think we might see some of these people going.
Well, I'll start. I'll cover the 6 main ones here. I'll start with Ruby Riott. That's the first one that I'll kind of go with, and I say that she'll go back to the Heidi Lovelace character, and NWA is where she lands. Dream matchup would be her and Thunder Rosa, Serena Deeb as well. So for her, that's where I would put her. Santana Garrett, Impact. I think that is a good fit for her there. Murphy, New Japan, North America. That's where I put him in there. Super J Cup, Best of Super Juniors and stuff like that. He'd be a shoe in for that. I will go against my co-host, my brother Carl, on this one. Lana to AEW with Miro. That is just a given. If you don't capitalize on that, you are being foolish. Aleister Black. I like the New Japan pick, but I think that he'll do some stuff over in the UK, Netherlands, in that area, whether it be still in professional wrestling or he may get back into the kickboxing.
We forgot about NXT UK, where Aleister Black could have just went and legitimized that promotion.
Sure. Not an option now, unfortunately.
No, but I mean, they could have used him there.
I do like the New Japan pick. Maybe see him run through. For him, it would probably be the Super Juniors, because he is technically a cruiserweight or just above a cruiserweight, believe it or not. But I think that he will work some wrestling promotion in the UK, or like I said, maybe even get back into the kickboxing realm, which is where he has a lot of experience and has done a lot. And Braun Strowman. Maybe a controversial pick here. I do see him going to Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, that would be to see Braun and Impact would be something. Yeah. It's just, I mean, to see any of these people anywhere, which we will see them pop up somewhere, they're all going to be fine. Yeah, it's gonna be different. It's very bizarre. Yeah.
For me, the hot pick out of all these ones, is actually a tie between, I think, Murphy and Ruby Riott. I think that they're the ones that I think people are kind of sleeping on. They're actually going to really excel now that they're away from the WWE. Believe it or not, I think that they both are the ones that really kind of rise to the occasion.
Yeah. Our buddy Throwback does ask. He says, so guys, who do you guys see go the McIntyre route? So do we see anybody from this list that we think kind of goes on the indies, goes to another company, kind of rebuilds themselves a little bit, only to come back and kind of be more successful the other time? I don't know about be more successful. I think if anybody was going to come back, I guess it would be Braun would be where I would go. Maybe. But I don't know if there's really anybody on this list that I think. Maybe Murphy, because he was there, scratched the surface a little bit, because he had some 205 Live with him and Mustafa Ali had some. Good God.
I mean,
and I think Parrish says Murphy will come back. He's the only one that kind of fits that mold. Like was kind of in a prominent role, scratched the surface. We know he's good, can leave, reestablish how actually damn good he is. And then WWE goes, oh, yeah, we had that guy. Like, let's try to get him back and use him the way we should.
And I think that would be, like, if he could come back in a way to, like, if we were to take that 205 Live division, that cruiserweight division, where do you want to call it, and really make it more kind of robust, then, yeah, I could see that. You know, they really want to put some steam behind that, not 205 Live now, which is just an afterthought that, honestly, a lot of people don't even know still exists.
Yeah, it's true. Anybody else have anything on the mind when it comes to that question or anything like that? It's about anybody. Yeah.
Murphy, that's about it.
Yeah,
I
mean, Ruby Riott, I think like it popped into my head for a second. Like maybe she does come back through the NXT ranks and does her thing kind of Drew McIntyre style. But I think she's going to be just so successable wherever else she goes that I don't think she's going to want to come back.
Yeah.
She's going to be, they're going to, I think the WWE in a few years is going to be like, ah, man, whoops.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think they're going to look at that last batch and this batch and be like, what the heck?
We're going to see a real emergence of, and a lot of these people will be in that group. And a lot of these people will probably end up being very vocal about it, saying, you know what, you can be very successful in this professional wrestling business without having to be in the WWE.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, there's a lot of talents already kind of saying that. One person that I interviewed on Turnbuckle Talk, Franco Varga, does very, very well for himself, literally turned down an offer from WWE and does just perfectly fine for himself. He's a multi-millionaire? Of course not. But I mean, he's happy doing what he's doing and he makes a living doing it. And sometimes for these guys or girls, that's really all they're looking for. They don't want all the other nonsense.
Plus, some of these other promotions, right? They only run four times a month, 5 times a month.
Yep.
The WWE is going to go probably back to full time on the road, so you're going to be on the road 6-7 days a week, and you can do, you can do your indie spots. Like I look at like a Thunder Rosa, right? She's able to do AEW, NWA, go and do indie shows, still keep her Mission Pro Wrestling promotion going, and I don't think she. I don't think she's ever going to be like, I want to go to the WWE and only do this, right? Because you have to do what they tell you to do when they tell you to do it, and then there's enough money to go around. Plus, with streaming and all the stuff you can do now as just anybody, you can make your money. Like Danhausen makes tons of money doing like YouTube and things like that, and Patreon, and he doesn't need the WWE eventually. You know what I mean?
And that's another thing too. Now that these people are all not under WWE, they can go back to streaming or going on Twitch and making significant money doing that. If like I know Alistair said today, he's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. He's going to make a lot of money doing that. He's going to make a lot of money, and I think this might be and again, if they end up selling, then a lot of things will change, obviously. But I think might be like when we start looking at the actual model of WWE as a company and how they treat their employees, independent contractors, whatever you call them. And I think this might be, maybe we're in the far, far beginning stages, but it might be the start of that being a bigger conversation, which maybe might lead to better things for the performers.
I have a bit of a question. I think might be a good way to kind of wrap up the special reacts that we're doing here, is to maybe go around the horn here and just talk about if the WWE, and I think it's a matter of when, not if, when WWE does get sold, will they still be the quote unquote number one wrestling company in the world? If they get sold.
John, go. Yeah, go.
I was just gonna say, I would say yes, strictly on name value, because it's kind of like how when you scratch yourself, you go get a Band-Aid. That's not what that is. That's just the name brand. You know what I mean? So the WWE is synonymous with wrestling, and I have a feeling whoever's going to buy this isn't wanting to buy the number 2 promotion in the world, right? They want to buy the number 1. So I think they'll stay there, but as we've seen, I think the door is open now for a potential WCW type, ratings war winner for like AEW's inching ever closer. New Japan, if they can get a good foothold in America, they could make a run because they do huge numbers over there. They'll still be number 1 just because it's everybody's nostalgia, first love. I don't think anybody, that's just, it's got to be what it is.
Go ahead, Joe.
Where I kind of totally agree with what you said, John. Inside, like when we're talking people like ourselves who are like true, blooded wrestling fans. Now, when I put myself in the shoes of like a casual wrestling fan or somebody who's been away from the product for a long time, like just the other day, I can't remember what show I mentioned this on. I think it was with you, myself, Carl, and Jargo. Ran to somebody that saw my Love Wrestling shirt, and they were like, "Oh, you're a fan of wrestling?" I was like, "Yeah," and this was literally what they said to me. They was like, "Oh, is that WWF there? Are they still doing that WrestleMania thing?" I don't know why I did an American accent there. They're here in Canada, but yeah, that's kind of the mindset of the average person out there. They still think it's the WWF, and they're not even sure if WrestleMania is still a thing. So
I get that.
We need to kind of keep that in the back of our minds when it comes to this too. Is it going to attract any new new audience members, that's a big question mark.
Yeah.
I think it 100% is going to depend on who buys it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get like Fox that buys it, well, Fox has its own sports streaming service that's available that they may look at expanding. If we get NBC that has the Peacock network, well, everything's going to be very much so tailored towards Peacock and NBC, which we don't get in Canada and they don't get anywhere else across the world. But you get somebody like Disney that buys it. Now, hold on. Disney is huge in the United States. Everyone in North America, Canada, all the way down knows Disney, but they've got Disney Japan, they've got Disney Paris. Disney is worldwide. So Disney could still be able to take that and really make it the conglomerate that it is right now and keep it that way. Whereas if a smaller organization were to do it, like NBC, I think we might see that very much so decline because it's only going to be very localized to that market.
Yeah.
To that point, real quick, I'm interested to see who does buy it because all those people that you've mentioned have other priorities in their portfolio.
Yeah.
The WWE right now, that is their priority, right? Is wrestling content. So that's what's driven them to the top. But you get into an NBC that has primetime television they have to worry about, Disney, Marvel movies, all this other stuff. Do they kind of get lost in the shuffle if they were to sell? That's an interesting for me. Like, how much of a priority are you going to put on the product?
Yeah. And I think Parrish Spencer Love needs between two beers to stop spending the funds so he can buy WWE.
You nailed it, brother. You nailed it.
Yeah, you might be right. Just tune in tomorrow night at 8:30 and see what we're stretching the budget for this week.
Yeah, we got.
That's called foreshadow. That's a tease. That's a tease in the biz. No, but for me, I think I'm a loyal. I have a lot of loyalty, and that I'm critical, and I want the product to be better. And I would say now there are I enjoy AEW and different products more than I enjoy Raw. And more than I enjoy some SmackDowns. NXT and AEW are my top two shows that I watch every week, just personally. But I do have a loyalty to WWE because I am a huge wrestling fan. I love wrestling, no pun intended, but pun intended. We all do. And WWE is the reason why I love wrestling. And Vince is a reason why I love wrestling. And regardless of how I feel about him personally or what I think of how great a human being he is, I do have somewhat of a loyalty to them, and I think for me, it'll be like, okay, WWE is still WWE, but if there's a new owner or a new company and I don't know who's running the stuff, I'm still going to watch it, but you're going to have to prove a little bit of something to me, a little bit. Now I might be alone and because I'm a weirdo and it is what it is, but that's how I kind of view it too. You're going to have to prove to me that you're going to be the WWE that I grew up still loving, And
I think most of us are that way, right? We criticize this product because it's what we love. If we didn't love wrestling, pun intended, unintended, exactly, shameless, we wouldn't be sitting here, wherever we're at right now, talking about these budget cuts with the passion that we're all talking about it. And I know people are saying oh, if you don't like it, turn it off, but it is a loyalty thing. We all have those fond memories of the Monday Night Wars and seeing our favorite wrestlers come out and just take care of business and just being enamored with the product. And it's one of those things it's hard to turn off, but days like today make it I wanted to come home and get lost in some wrestling, and I was just man, I'm down because AEW's not on and you just cut, one of my favorite wrestlers. So what did I do? I fired up the network or the Peacock stream and I watched Ruby Riott versus Charlotte Flair at Fastlane, and I'm like, oh my, and it just makes you kind of infuriated watching a match that you love of a person that just got cut going, what are they thinking? And it's what we do. I think it's out of a love and a passion for this sport. And
yeah.
we can be critical and still love it and not do it in a way that is, demeaning to anybody. And that's what we're all about here. Love wrestling. Hold the shirt up again.
And it's like Throwback says in the comment, like he mentioned the Red Sox, but just in general, like I view WWE the same way that I view, like I'm from Massachusetts. I grew up in rooting for the teams of Boston. Was like, it's in our culture. It's in our nature. If you grow up in a sports household, you're very passionate. It's like rooting for a family member, as weird as it is. That's how I view WWE too. Like, I've been watching this shit since I was 5, like, or as early as I can remember, I've been watching wrestling. Yep. So it's always kind of been there for me. And it's always kind of been this thing that I love that not everybody else loves. So it was kind of my thing, or my select group of friends. We loved wrestling and everyone thought we were weird. But in reality, we were like, no, you guys just don't get it. You guys are the weird ones, and that loyalty is what makes us care so much. Like you said, John, like we watch because we want the product to be better. Like that's why. Like I get frustrated with WWE, not because I hate WWE. I get frustrated with WWE because I know how good the roster is and I know how good the show could be, and I want it to be that good. And it seems like it's very hard for them to do that, and it's frustrating. Yep. And then when you see days like today where people leave, it makes it even worse because you're like, oh, I liked those people. I liked seeing them on television. Maybe the product would be better if you effing use them.
Yeah, like Lakers fans would be bummed tomorrow if LeBron James got released. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are people's favorite wrestlers, their favorite performers, their athletes. Yep. You get attached, you fall in love, and then they're just like, we're not going to use them anymore, and bye. And it's just, but.
All right, gentlemen. We've had a good talk. We've gone a little bit over an hour. So let's get the plugs out. Let's talk to the people about what you've already done this week, what you got coming up, anything good. I will start with my friend Mighty Joe to my side here. Start away, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. For those who do follow Carl and myself on a regular basis, you can catch our most recent episode of Turnbull Talk over on our platform. But starting actually this current week, it's also going to be dropping on the Love Wrestling channel as well. So you guys can check it out on this platform. The most current episode of Turnbuckle Rewind with Bailey and Sasha from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn is going to be up. And since I'm not going to be on the brunch this current week, I'll give everybody a preview of what we'll be doing for next week's Turnbuckle Rewind. We're going to go back to WrestleMania 12, the Hollywood Backlot Brawl with Rowdy, Roddy Piper, and Goldust.
Nice.
Holy crap, that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my plugs.
All right. We will go down.
As well.
Yes. And we will go down to Carl.
It is definitely going to be challenging to do this backlot brawl because I'm going to have to splice and put together this entire matchup. But for all of you, go and watch that definitely first before you listen to our show so that you get a bit more of an understanding. It's going to be absolutely amazing. We have talked a lot on this show about budget cuts. You want to know where there is no budget cuts happening right now? At lovewrestling.ca. That's where there are no budget cuts happening. And you know why there's no budget cuts happening? Because you guys are going to lovewrestling.ca. You guys are clicking on those links to buy that beautiful coffee mug. I own one myself. I absolutely love it. We've got coffee mugs all around. We have got a t-shirt going on as well. That's how you help support us. Follow us on all of the social medias that are available at lovewrestling.ca and just make a purchase of that shirt or even that wonderful coffee mug to own a piece of Love Wrestling history over at lovewrestling.ca.
Go.
Whew, I felt like Vanna White right
Man, that was beautiful. I know. I was like modeling. I was like, oh,
yes. The price is right. Yes.
Yeah, that was some good shit, pal.
Man, now
all right, John, have fun following that.
Yeah, I know.
All right, go ahead.
As you see at the bottom there, John at Wrestling Plug Inc. Plug is in the name, so we're going to do some plugs. Let's start with, tomorrow night, 8:30, Between Two Beards is coming back with episode 4 with my guy JPJ here. We've got a very special guest lined up. Stay tuned to our
whole
social
show.
media.
He's gonna do the whole show with us.
I know that we wanted to reel in the budget a little bit, but we got him for the full show, so we're going to spend that cash. So stop by our social medias at Wrestling Plug Inc. JPJ will drop his up at the top, and we'll tell you who it is. Again, find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling Plug Inc. doing my thing. And other than that, that's all I got. I can't follow Carl. Like now, I'm like,
yeah, that was. I'm
some
gonna
good go.
stuff. Next time, I'm gonna let him go last. I'm gonna let him go last next time.
Let him do that last. Now I gotta go upstairs and practice. I'm like, hey guys, I'm on.
She's gonna be practicing tomorrow before work. I'm gonna be practicing in the mirror, like, okay, this wasn't right. No, like John said, tomorrow night, Between Two Beards, that's always a good time. We're having a friggin' blast making that show. Joe helps us producing every week. He's awesome for doing that and giving us his time there. There will be a War Report. AEW is doing the Friday night thing again this week, so it'll most likely be another edition at some point on the weekend. But other than that, Between Two Beards and War Report is what I do, and then I hop on any of these special reacts or reacts whenever I can in general. Just as much as I can, the opportunity is there for me to talk about wrestling. I try to do it. But thank you guys for joining me tonight, for the circumstances that they were. Thanks for joining. Thank you, everyone, for supporting, adding into the chat. Oh, Parrish is dropping in right at the end here. Parrish is dropping in.
Dropping out.
Just the cameo, just the Parrish cameo. But thank you, everyone, for watching and in the chat and participating. Please support us. Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, all the social medias. What Carl said. He said it better than me. Listen to Carl, everybody. Thank you for joining, guys.
Don't forget to plug the fundraiser.
Yes, I will do that before we leave.
Yes.
Sorry. We do want to do no, that is a good call. For the month of June, we will be trying to raise, our goal is $1,000 for the Trevor project. I'm sorry. This is a great organization. And this is the website. It is donate.tiltify.com/@lovewrestlingca/Trevor Project. For any more information, you can go to the Trevor Project's website, or if you Google Trevor Project, you can look into it. It is a fine organization, and we are happy to try to be raising funds for them this month, as it is very important to us. So please, John, good call out. Go there, raise some money, do good. It is not a bad thing to help people. And on that note, we will officially get out of here for the evening. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time on Love Wrestling.